Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio. Today we are taking a look at an article came out a few days ago. But first I have to ask: does anyone really remember The Rocketeer? Well, Disney is making a sequel to it with this article here. The Rocketeer 2 is in development. Story follows retired Tuskegee Airman. Disney Plus is developing a sequel to 1991's The Rocketeer titled The Return of the Rocketeer, which will focus on Tuskegee Airman becoming the hero. And that is the ultimate, like, pulp hero title for a sequel, is just The Return of X hero. So in this case, The Return of the Rocketeer. Disney and Selma star Dave. I am gonna butcher the hell out of this name. I'm gonna say that right now. Disney and Selma star David Oyelowo are developing a sequel to the cult classic The Rocketeer based on the comic book series of the same name. Disney released The Rocketeer in June 1991, and the film was a modest hit at the box office but didn't live up to the expectations the studio had for the film. However, in the years, it gained a cult following, and director Joe Johnston would go on to do another superhero period film with Captain America the First Avenger, 20 years after the release of The Rocketeer. Well, I did do a review of The Rocketeer, and while it's not a terrible movie, and it unfortunately has just been the butt of the joke for so many years, and I think I know where it started. It really started with this clip of Family Guy.
When stupid people need a thrill,
they rent The Rocketeer.
Yeah, The Rocketeer has gotten unfavorable coverage. It's not a terrible movie, but the problem is it just released at the wrong time, because I believe 3 weeks prior to The Rocketeer releasing in the box office is when Robin Hood Prince of Thieves came out, and that movie took the summer blockbuster season by storm back in 1991. So to simply put it, The Rocketeer just got lost in the shuffle. Disney never fully gave up on the Rocketeer concept, though. While an official sequel never was released, Disney Junior released an animated series titled The Rocketeer that focused on a young girl named Kit, who became the new Rocketeer, and even featured the star of the 1991 film Billy Campbell as Kit's father, Dave, and a cameo role as original Rocketeer Cliff Secord. The series was canceled after one season, but the combination of the series plus the enduring legacy of the 1991 film shows there is still potential in The Rocketeer for Disney. According to Deadline, Disney is developing a sequel film titled The Return of the Rocketeer, which will be released on Disney Plus. And I'm going to come out and say that that's probably the best move for a sequel to The Rocketeer, because you have a movie that has a cult following. Would it be better to release it in theaters or release it directly onto a streaming platform? You know, let's take a look at the example of Blade Runner 2049. Now, the history of Blade Runner is kind of weird, because when it first came out in theaters, it really wasn't a hit. It barely broke even, but then it became a huge hit on home video. Then it became a cult classic. Then Blade Runner 2049 came out, and I think that movie barely broke even. So the fact that this movie is going direct to streaming will probably help it more than hinder it. The film will be produced by David and Jessica Oyelowo, with possible potential for David Oyelowo to star in the film. The script will be read by Ed Record, who famously wrote Now You See Me. It's with Jesse Eisenberg, Michael Caine, and Woody Harrelson. And will focus on a retired Tuskegee Airman who takes on the mantle of the Rocketeer. This isn't the first time Disney has considered doing a Rocketeer film with a black lead. Back in 2016, Disney was developing The Rocketeers, which would have focused on a young African-American female pilot who finds the original Rocketeer's gear. The script was written by Matt Spicer and Max Winkler, Flower and Magic Camp. I personally have never heard of that. But the project never went further than the announcement, and possibly has been reworked into this current project. The Return of the Rocketeer on Disney Plus continues the streaming service's tradition of providing a home for reimaginings of Disney's properties from the 1980s and 90s that may not generate big crowds to come out to theaters, but do provide incentives for clicks on the app. The streaming service features a reboot of Turner and Hooch. I don't know, why the hell did they reboot Turner and Hooch? Like, of all things to reboot, that's one of those things where I'm just scratching my head just going, why? Plus a continuation series of the hit franchise The Mighty Ducks. The Rocketeer has been a beloved childhood classic for many, and the idea of a sequel seemed likely an impossibility, but now Disney Plus and these creatives have given that idea a chance. My biggest fear for the Return of the Rocketeer, since it's going to focus on a Tuskegee Airman, is how heavy are they gonna lean into the potential identity politics? as long as they don't lean into them as heavily, the movie should be fine, because at least it's keeping the tradition of the Rocketeer, in that, you know, in that the main character before taking up the gear was a pilot, because Cliff Secord was a stunt pilot in the first movie. So following a Tuskegee Airman, it makes sense. Again, like I said, it keeps that tradition of, you know, following a pilot. But how heavy are Disney going to lean into the identity politics? Well, that largely remains to be seen. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here, because I've gone on for as long as I need to go. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following me long enough, you know I'm terrible at ending these videos. So I will just see you guys next time.